saw a large barrel-shaped object hanging from a wire strung between two standalone telephone poles at my local park. The wire is about 15 to 18 feet off the ground, and there are no other wires attached, just this barrel suspended in the middle. Any idea what this setup might be for? What you saw is likely a suspended target used in a firefighter training game known as waterball. In this competition, teams of firefighters aim high-powered water hoses at a large steel ball, usually around 15 inches wide, suspended from a cable stretched between two tall poles. The goal is to push the ball toward the opposing team's side using only water pressure. Waterball isn't just a game. It's a practical way for firefighters to build skills with hose control, nozzle handling, and teamwork under pressure. The field is marked like a sport court, and matches are usually played in a double elimination format, where a team is only out after 2 losses. This item looks like it might be upside down and was attached to the top of a fence by the previous owner. It's filled with neatly packed pieces of wood, bamboo, hay, and small branches. It doesn't have any noticeable smell. Could this be some kind of feeder or nesting box? What you found is a bee hotel, a man-made shelter designed to support solitary bees and other pollinators. Unlike honeybees, which live in hives, many native bees live alone and prefer to nest in small cavities like hollow plant stalks, dead wood, or cracks in trees. A bee hotel mimics these natural habitats by offering tightly packed materials like bamboo, reeds, hay, and twigs. These structures provide a safe place for female bees to lay their eggs. Each hollow tube serves as an individual nest, where the bee will seal off each egg with pollen and nectar for the larvae to feed on when they hatch. Bee hotels are an important conservation tool, especially as natural nesting sites disappear due to urbanization. So even if it looks upside down, it may still be doing its job, quietly supporting local pollinators right from your fence. What is that small metal comb or brush you always see near the bottom or top of an escalator? The item you're asking about is called an escalator skirt brush. While it may look like a convenient place to wipe your shoes, its real purpose is all about safety. These brushes run along the sides of escalators, right where the moving steps meet the stationary skirt panels. They're designed to gently nudge feet, clothing, and bags away from the edge, preventing them from getting caught in the narrow gap between the steps and the side wall. And while some people do try to shine their shoes on them, doing so can be dangerous and even cause the escalator to stop if sensors detect unusual pressure. I came across an old machine at a historic site in Northern Virginia. Based on its design, it looks like it could date from either just before or just after the American Revolution. Does anyone know what it might have been used for? This is an apple crusher and press, a common tool used in rural life during the 18th and 19th centuries, especially on farms in early America. This machine was used in cider making, a common practice on farms where apples were plentiful, and cider was a safer alternative to water which was commonly contaminated. The process began by feeding whole apples into the crusher, which broke them into pulp. That pulp was then transferred into the press, where heavy pressure extracted the juice. The juice was collected and typically stored in wooden barrels to ferment naturally over time, turning into hard cider. I came across this strange structure in a lake in Girard, Ohio. It seems to drain into a large pipe at the bottom of a nearby hill, big enough to walk through. Does anyone know exactly what it is? What you found is a bell-mouth spillway, a type of overflow system designed to safely drain excess water from a lake or reservoir. Also known as a glory hole because of its distinctive inverted bell shape, this structure acts like a giant drain, pulling in water when the lake reaches a certain level. The spillway is connected to a large underground pipe that channels the water downhill, away from the dam or shoreline. This system is a critical safety feature. Without it, rising water could overtop the dam, causing erosion or even structural failure. While walking along the beach in Grayland, Washington, early one morning at low tide, I came across several sets of perfectly spaced holes in the sand. Each set had 6 holes, and they were arranged in a line about 50 feet apart, moving closer to the water. A stick went 3 to 4 feet deep into each hole. Any idea what could have caused them? What you saw were the remnants of a scientific clam survey. Marine biologists and environmental researchers often conduct these types of surveys along tidal flats to study the population and distribution of clams and other burrowing sea life. The holes you found were likely made using a method called quadrat sampling, where researchers dig identical holes in carefully spaced patterns to gather data from standardized sections of beach. Each set of 6 holes represents a sampling zone. By analyzing what they find in each section, clam size, species, and number, they can estimate the health and density of the population across a much larger area. The progression of sets closer to the water helps scientists understand how tidal position influences where clams prefer to live. I came across an odd-looking structure in a park near a community college. Standing roughly 4.5 meters tall, it has a sturdy concrete base and is positioned by itself in a wide open field, not too far from a small lake. Inside the structure, you can see what look like metal fins or vanes. It's located close to a walking trail, but there aren't any other buildings nearby. Does anyone know what it is? What you found is most likely a bat house, an artificial roosting structure designed to support local bat populations. These enclosures are built to mimic the narrow crevices in trees or buildings where bats naturally roost. Bat houses are typically placed near water sources like the lake you mentioned, because that's where insects are most abundant, providing a reliable food source for bats. Parks and community spaces install them to promote natural pest control, since a single bat can consume thousands of insects in one night. These structures help maintain the local ecosystem by giving bats a secure place to rest and contribute to natural pest control. My brother spotted this strange object in a field near Marple in northern England. It looks like a heavy black balloon covered in white netting. We thought it might be an animal feeder, but there's only one of them. Any idea what it could be? What your brother saw is an H-trap, a cleverly designed device used to reduce horsefly populations. The large black balloon absorbs heat from the sun and mimics the shape and warmth of a large animal, exactly the kind of target biting female horseflies are drawn to. When a horsefly lands on the ball hoping for a blood meal, it finds nothing to feed on. Instinctively, it flies upward, and that's where the trap does its job. The fly is funneled into a clear chamber at the top, where it becomes trapped. These devices are especially useful in rural areas, farms, or fields, where horseflies are common and can cause problems for both animals and humans. Simple in appearance, but highly effective in action. I came across this 10-foot-tall metal structure in the Italian Alps near Marmolada. We spotted a few of them along the mountainside. Does anyone know what they're used for? What you saw is part of a mounting system for an avalanche control device known as the O-Bell X. These tall metal structures are installed in alpine regions like the Marmolada to help manage avalanche risk in high snowfall areas. Each unit houses tanks of hydrogen and oxygen, which are used to create controlled explosions. The idea behind the system is to trigger small, localized avalanches in a safe, controlled manner, before large, dangerous ones can form naturally. When a buildup of unstable snow is detected, the O-Belx pod releases the gases and ignites them above the snowpack, creating a shockwave that destabilizes the snow. Each unit costs around $120,000, but the investment significantly improves safety for mountain communities, ski resorts, and infrastructure like roads and railways. I found a cast iron shaft sticking out of the marsh on my property. The top has threading, a keyway, and something that looks like a gear. I don't know how deep it goes, it's completely stuck and I can't move it by hand. Any idea what this might have been used for? This is the worm gear and drive shaft from a 1928 to 1929 Ford Model AA rear axle assembly. These components were originally part of a heavy-duty truck designed for hauling loads. Parts like this were commonly salvaged and repurposed for other uses, once the vehicle was no longer roadworthy. In many rural areas, old truck axles and similar iron parts were driven into the ground to serve as durable property markers or fence stakes. In Prague, I saw a metal downspout with a huge bulge in the middle, made of the same material as the rest of the pipe. Is this caused by water freezing inside, or could it be an intentional design or art installation? What you saw isn't a damaged pipe or the result of freezing. That strange bulge is actually part of a hidden installation, by Czech sculptor David Czerny, known for his provocative and unconventional public art scattered throughout Prague. This particular piece is called Embryo, and it's mounted on a drain pipe along the side of the Divadlo na Zabradlí Theater. Installed on December 9, 2008, to celebrate the theater's 50th anniversary, Embryo was designed to resemble a fetus curled up inside the pipe. At night, a soft inner glow brings the form to life, revealing the subtle shape within. I found this heavy 18-inch long object buried in my yard on Cape Cod. It weighs about 75 pounds and seems very old. Given the location, I suspect it's nautical. The rust makes me think it's cast iron, but the greenish coating could also suggest bronze. Any ideas what it might be? What you found is a capstan winch, a heavy-duty manual device once commonly used on mid-20th century boats. These winches were essential for raising anchors, hauling ropes, or managing other heavy loads on deck. They operated using a simple ratcheting mechanism, and a metal bar could be inserted into the side slot, next to the gypsy head, for extra leverage when turning the drum. Interestingly, similar models have sold for up to $1,500 depending on condition, so it's definitely worth preserving. Outside our hotel near Seoul, not far from Everland, we noticed several grassy mounds on a hillside, each with a sign nearby. They look intentional and well kept. Does anyone know what these could be? What you saw are traditional Korean graves, typically shaped like small grassy mounds on hillsides. These rounded burial sites are a deeply rooted part of Korean culture and reflect the country's strong emphasis on ancestor respect. The signs you noticed are actually tomb markers, and the flat stone tables in front of the mounds serve as altars where family members leave offerings, typically food and drink, during ancestral rites and holidays like Chuseok. These graves were traditionally reserved for nobles, high-ranking officials, or wealthy families. When you see multiple mounds on the same hill, they typically belong to members of the same family. If two mounds are close together, they may mark the graves of a husband and wife. I found this solid metal spike in a hotel bathroom in New York. It's about 25 centimeters long, made of aluminum, and has a hole at the top, as if something is meant to be inserted into it. It was mounted to a makeup table but can be removed. Any idea what it might be? What you found is a bud vase, a minimalist flower holder designed to display a single stem, commonly used in hotels, restaurants, and public spaces. These vases add a subtle decorative touch to otherwise utilitarian spaces, and their fixed base ensures everything stays neat and secure. In the last video, I showed you a small silver box and invited you to guess what it was. Many of you shared your guesses, and some of you got it right. It's actually a purse hook. It's used to hang your purse on the edge of a table or any flat surface. Thanks to everyone who shared their guesses, and a special shout out to Apollinar Perdomo for being the first to identify the item correctly. Now I want to invite you to identify another mysterious object. I found it at an antique store. It's made of brass and feels quite heavy for its size. What do you think it was used for? Leave your guesses in the comments and I'll reveal the answer in the next video.